Let's take a look at this. I'm sure you saw former VP Dick Cheney is out with a new ad to help his daughter Liz Cheney's campaign. And let me tell you what, he doesn't hold back. He's going after the one, Donald Trump. Take a look.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big.
And he said Republicans know it. So what do you think of what Dick had to say? Does anyone here find this ironic? Because Dick Cheney did possibly, some might say, lead us into a war that we didn't need in Iraq, or
a little of the kettle calling the pot blackish.
What do you think here, Jeff?
Type of deal.
What do you feel? Ironic?
You know what's weird? I haven't even thought about Dick Cheney for so long. I didn't know he was around, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, but what if anyone have seen the movie Vice? Right, it shows a interesting depiction of Dick Cheney. So him calling out this, I got to be perfectly honest, I think it's to get eyeballs somewhere else, right? I don't know if he necessarily means what he says, but I think maybe because his son or daughter, his daughter's running,
losing in a.
So I think that's the reason why he's coming out to say that. That's my personal opinion.
He means what he says because he's been saying this on CNN and interviews with ABC that
he hates Trump.
What President Trump has done, it does not represent the Republican Party at all. You know, he's been having this conversation like all this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in different outlets.
I should stop watching reruns of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's way better. Okay. But also, I just think, you know, he's just speaking for his daughter. So just bring it down to a dad-daughter relationship. Like, if anybody's going to call their dad to help them out and they're still here to do so and they have some type of relevance in a party that may sway some votes, I would call my dad too. That's our father.
Well, let me ask you this. This is for you, Al. This is some what people are saying about the irony. There is some irony here. Dick Cheney was known as like the meanest man ever. Now he's talking about Donald Trump. So people are saying Dick Cheney is a war criminal who should spend the rest of his life in a military prison for the Iraq War. Someone else said Darth Vader comes out from under a rock and weighs in on Trump. Now someone else says, I've been critical of the Cheneys in the past, particularly the vice president, but I stand unequivocally with them on this issue. Can you have dual thought here?
Duality.
Duality of thought? I can't.
You can, but I don't know how effective it is. I think that the people that are going to support Dick Cheney are already doing it because they're voting for his daughter. And the fact that she's 22 points down in the polls lets us know how much support he has. What this is really doing for us is just showing us where the Republican Party is today. And right now, it's not with the truth and justice and Liz Cheney leading the January 6th investigation, fighting for truth and justice. They don't care that. They're like, she chose the other side. We're done with her, and it's on to the next one. And 22 points down in the polls, you cannot talk around that. There's no margin of error for 22. That's like losing 100-0 at halftime.
All right, well, let me talk about that because in case you didn't know, as you said, Liz Cheney, she's running for re-election in Wyoming. That is the least populous state, by the way. The fewest amount of people are in Wyoming. According to the polls, she is way behind her opponent, Harriet Hageman, by more than 20 points, as Al was saying, even though she's raised about $1 million more. So why do we think she's behind so far at this point? There's clearly three parties, right? The Democrats, the Republicans, and let's say the Trumpers who believe the election is rigged. She falls into the Trump almost destroyed our democracy. Is she ever going to get elected again? Did she lose it with that? What do you think, Linz?
Well, we know she's going to continue those hearings because you don't get out of office. They're coming back in September. So even if she gets elected or not, we're going to see what happens in September. But I do think that people need to be politically nimble and not so staunchly fixed on being a Democrat or being a Republican, and just think about this woman stood up for values, try to protect our country. She put country before party. And so if you can't differentiate that in that moment and at least ask the person you're electing to have morals, then you're in a bad spot as a voter. You need to start there and think about who you want to represent you for bigger reasons other than maybe your taxes.
Who was who in that photo? Like, could we pull that photo back up?
Liz was on the left.
The woman on the right looks like she's in the Great Celebrity Bake Off.
She did. She looks like the mean judge.
Doesn't she look like?
Is there any sugar in this?
Yeah.
That's right. So that on the
here's
left,
what you did wrong with this pie.
So that on the left is Liz, and on the right, that's Harriet Hageman. And again, just so you know, the one on the right is an election denier. She says she would not have verified Joe Biden's 2020 election, and she is now the front runner for the Republican primary. Again, they have to face a Democrat, but this is is the primary.
I know. For me, it's kind of, I don't know. We get in this Democrat and Republican thing, and I think those are very fringe people that identify as like, I'm staunch Republican, without having duality of views, right? To be like, I agree with some of the Republicans, I agree with some of the Democrats and their views, and they differ. I want to believe that the majority of America's independents. Maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But you're not allowed to say what party you are. And I should specifically say you're not allowed to say you're with the Republican Party in certain situations, right?
Well,
and
I think
I do want to say, I don't think so. I don't think so. But the point I'm trying to make is when 2024 comes, I think you're going to see a big shift. I think it's going to go Republican. I think a lot of people are tired of the woke culture and all that, and that's kind of towards the liberal type of things, right? And I think a lot of people are just being quiet because what you say on TV, what you say in certain situations, and then you go back to your house or with your friends, and you're like, oh man, I kind of like what that person did.
But
and you're whispering behind your back.
Is the midterm. So we're going to see if what you're predicting is correct, because the midterms are going to tell us who's going to control a lot of what's going on in Congress, and then that will ultimately have a lot of impact on the 2024 election.
And I think we will, because I think people are scared to even share opinion about anything these days, let alone what party they're with.
I agree, but I can't share. I'm a Democrat. If I'm in the South, that's a place I feel uncomfortable doing.
Yeah, but you being like in this Hollywood specifically, your view is applauded, right?
If you said
if you were a Republican, you might not have your job.
But not in every place in this country. And I also have to say, speaking of President Trump, you're right. He's doing extremely well, which leads me to this. What kind of hold does he have over the Republican Party? Well, if Tuesday's primaries are any indication, Jeffrey is right. He is the kingmaker. All 8 of the candidates he endorsed won this week, including Kari Lake in Arizona, former journalist. She won the Republican primary for Arizona governor. Kari is an election denier, another one who said she would not have certified Joe Biden's 2020 victory. So what do you think about Trump's candidates doing so well? Really quick. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say quickly, I don't think it might be Trump's candidates. I think it's the Republican Party. It might not have anything to do with Trump. I could be totally wrong. But I think people are pushing back against the narrative. But that's what I feel like. Because the media doesn't show. We don't talk about MPH anymore, right? Not the actor, Nancy Pelosi's husband. We don't talk about any of that. We don't talk about Joe Biden or falling off a bike, where he's at, his hairy legs, him falling up the stairs, down the stairs. We don't do that. Nobody talks about those things.
So people are talking about Republicans.
But people are pushing back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
And let's just not forget, I want to work. You work with Kari Lake, but also.
Oh, I didn't. I want to be clear. I do not know this woman. I didn't work with this woman.
You knew of her.
We both were journalists in Arizona, and so the confusing thing to me is that, as somebody who spent years as a fixture in that community, understanding what's correct and doing her research and having team of people that help you find the facts about what's going on, specifically in your state and city, it's kind of confusing that she's saying the election. Like, I think the basis of running and what you're saying about being a Republican, it might be true, but also you have to just admit that the election was fairly won by Joe Biden. Like, let's just start there. That's not actually up for debate. It's just facts.
But it's not an issue for debate.
People voted for Joe Biden not because he was good, because he wasn't Donald Trump.
And that's also a fact, I know. Right. But like, the fact is, don't say that it was stolen. Like, those were the two options given.
I'm not debating if it was stolen.
No, but that's what some of these people that are winning their primaries
to be perfectly honest, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I appreciate that. Let me just say this. I find, and I know we air in Phoenix, I believe, or Arizona. I find Arizona is the new Texas, in which if I want to see where the red is going, the red states, Arizona is blood red. They just elected a Secretary of State that was at the Capitol and rioted in a black fedora. So they are going heavily into the election deniers. And I think
they also have Rusty Bowers representing them, who was at the January 6th with the committee, testifying that he was not willing to go against his oath and change the election results in his state.
However,
so I think there's two different people. You have to talk about Arizona as a whole. We're always saying like Texas this or Arizona this. There's plenty of people, like Jeff was saying, that fall somewhere in the middle that just want to be represented well and all their values to be represented on the ballot.
Absolutely, but the McCain family was completely shut out of this Arizona ballot. I mean, they've made a decision in that state, and I think, and hit me if I'm wrong, especially if you're from
Wyoming
Phoenix.
And you know, with Cheney as well.
Exactly.
They're kind of getting rid of the old guard.
It sounds like they McCan't.
Tori, you gonna let that happen on your watch?
I thought it was quite good.